Hello and welcome back to the Fame Under Fire YouTube channel from BBC Sounds with me, Anoushka Mutanda-Dougherty. That is Blake Lively at the 2026 Met Gala. After a 4-year hiatus, she was back on the red carpet, just as the news was breaking that Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni have officially agreed to a settlement in their legal battle. This is just 2 weeks before the trial was due to begin on the 18th of May. Now, this has been going on since 2024. The Hollywood legal battle began when Blake Lively sued Justin Baldoni and others, accusing him of harassment and a smear campaign on the set of the movie It Ends With Us. He denied it and countersued, but that lawsuit was eventually dismissed. Now, in April 2026, a federal judge dismissed most of the claims Blake Lively made in her lawsuit. Judge Lewis Lyman threw out 10 of the 13 allegations in Lively's case, including harassment and defamation. There were 3 claims left in place. Now, that's breach of contract, retaliation, and aiding and abetting in retaliation. So the civil trial had become a whole lot narrower. Some say more focused, some say narrower. Now, both sides have issued a joint statement. This was released on the 4th of May. It says, the parties in the Blake Lively and Wayfarer Studios litigation have reached an agreement to resolve the matters and issue the following joint statement. The end product, the movie It Ends With Us, is a source of pride to all of us who work to bring it to life. Raising awareness and making a meaningful impact in the lives of domestic violence survivors and all survivors is a goal that we stand behind. We acknowledge the process presented challenges and recognize concerns raised by Miss Lively deserved to be heard. We remain firmly committed to workplaces free of improprieties and unproductive environments. It is our sincere hope that this brings closure and allows all involved to move forward constructively and in peace, including a respectful environment online. Woo! Okay, it ends with us. It ends with that. Joining me right now is our resident trial attorney, Shaun Kent. Hi, Shaun.
Hey, Anoushka, how are you guys doing?
Shaun, I just read out that statement. Now, you are very particular about statements. Who makes them, when they're made, what they say. What do you think of that one? It was a joint statement from the defendants and the claimant.
I can promise you the settlement process was much easier than coming up with this statement. And so reading in between the lines and reading on that statement, it is very nuanced. It is very clear that the lawyers, because they gave it together, that they told both parties they were not allowed to discuss this thing whatsoever. And so everybody wanted to put their 2 cents in. So they wanted to make sure a nuanced statement that said absolutely nothing while saying everything at the same time. Because if you read it, it is a bunch of legal mumbo jumbo for we've reached a settlement. Blake and Justin ain't going to give you guys any comments whatsoever. It's done. Everybody move on. I mean, it's the nebulous way of what that statement says. What's very interesting is neither Justin or Blake said anything whatsoever. So I think that was part of the settlement, that they're not allowed to talk about it whatsoever.
And it doesn't include an apology from either side. And I thought the bit that was interesting is we want to make meaningful impact in the lives of domestic violence survivors and all survivors. The film's centered around domestic violence survivors. Is there anything we can glean from the inclusion of all survivors, given that a lot of this revolved around the accusation of sexual harassment?
We've dealt with these situations. As you know, we've had some cases where we have those non-disclosure things. And so what happens are both sides submit proposals. Blake's side talked about sexual harassment in the workforce, all of these other things. And the other side says, we're not going to mention any of that. And so it just pared down till they got to the word survivors. And so that's how you can tell it was a statement that both of them put together, that both of them could live with.
But let's get into that not talking. What happens? We're assuming this is a closed door deal, so it's taken place, maybe money's exchanged hands, maybe it hasn't, but neither side are going to make a public statement. What happens if you violate that, if you break that?
And that's the thing that's going to be such the guess, because usually there is a contract that none of us are privy to that talks about specifically what will happen in the result of a breach. This is a contract. Whatever we say, their settlement is simply a contract. As you and I have mentioned, a contract is a bargain for exchange between two parties. Now, I'm going to give the legal definition of contract because you pick on me. But there is a contract between the two. And if someone violates that contract, there are terms inside of there. So let's say, for argument's sake, Blake says that Justin's team or Wayfair has violated the terms of the contract. She can sue for that. Maybe inside of the contract, there's a term that gives a certain amount of monetary damages. Or specifically, she can repudiate or cut the entire agreement up and go back to her lawsuit. That could be inside of there. She could bring her lawsuit back if one of the sides violates their terms of the contract. I don't believe that's in there, and here's why: is because you and I have talked about the whole phrase statute of limitations. Let's say, for argument's sake, Justin violates the terms of this contract in 3 years. Well, she can't bring her lawsuit back then. You understand? Because it's past the time where she could have brought her case. So probably there's some type of monetary damages or some type of penalty that can be put in there if one of the sides violates.
Now, Blake Lively's team were adamant they were not going to settle. They were going to trial. We spoke to them. We spoke to the lawyers. They said, we are going to trial. She wants to get up on the stand and tell her story. And they made multiple public statements that echoed this. Now there is a settlement. Shaun, it feels as if Shaun Kent would have come in and gone, don't make any public statements saying you're not going to settle this because you're going to bite yourself in the butt later on. Would you stand by that?
Stand by that. It happens every time. Every time we see, and where it happens more is in the criminal parlance, is when defense attorneys, without getting the discovery, get in front of a camera and say, we maintain his innocence. He has done nothing wrong. There's nothing to say that. And then they get the discovery and they're like, we're just going to work a deal and we're going to plead really quickly. People give these ideas and they give these statements without knowing what's going on because it's new and fresh. And they believe it at the time. And I believe that Blake's team was emboldened. We are chanting up. We are champions for women's rights. We are going to fight to the very end. And all of a sudden they get all the evidence. They're like, yeah, we ain't doing this, bro. And Justin's team, we're not going to let this go. We're going to do everything. Justin, if you don't settle, then all of this information is going to come out. Let's work this out. So everybody is trying to win, Anoushka, the court of public opinion at the very beginning. And they want to give these great statements and give these great sound bites because they're really trying to influence a potential jury. And so there is something to be said that all of these statements they gave at the beginning were really just in case they end up in front of a jury and just in case somebody on that jury may see something they said. But in the grand scheme of things, they probably realistically knew this was never going to go to trial.
And then there is something to the fact that this happened on the night of the Met Gala, which showcases high fashion, or fashion as art, as it was this year. The who's who of everybody, even Beyonce this year turned up.
Absolutely. Everything is carefully orchestrated. I hate those things when people come in there wearing bright colors and yellows and all that weird stuff. It's really just weird to me. You know,
Sean's wearing a bright yellow suit with a paisley tie, y'all. And he's petitioning Anna Wintour. Invite me. Invite me.
I'm coming.
Yeah.
But as you know, in the news media, there's certain days of the week that if you want to bury a story, you release them. You know, you release stories on Friday mid-afternoons and things of that nature if you want them to be buried. And it's the same situation in this. They knew that people are going to be more focused on one. Let's release the settlement so everyone's not talking about it the way that they used to be. So there's no doubt in my mind it was carefully planned, carefully orchestrated. This is the day that we choose to release it so we can get the least bad press possible.
And then the other element of this is the court. So this is the Southern District of New York Court, which hears civil trials, civil cases, and criminal cases as well. Now, we know that the court already said you need to come in here and try mediation again to try and reach a conclusion when they both turned up wearing the same color of green and set the internet on fire, and they couldn't reach a settlement then. Is the court's interest always in trying to get them to settle throughout the entire thing? Yeah?
Yes.
It is. And do you think that's increased in this case because of the amount of high profile people that were attached to this? Taylor Swift, Ryan Reynolds, like logistically, this is a bit of a nightmare for the court and the court officers. So they're like, settle, settle, settle.
Well, here's a great way to look at it, Anoushka. We want to balance court resources and court time. You know, how many times have we talked about Americans are litigious by nature and we sue a lot. And you only have a finite amount of time and resources. And if the court docket is clogged up with just working on Blake and Wayfair, they can't do other means of justice. Here's something that people don't realize, and maybe they do. The same judge who is watching and dealing with Blake's case for the next 3 weeks or however long it is also handles criminal matters. Okay. And so for that, so let's say the Blake case is taking 3, 4, 5 weeks of civil worrying about money. And there's somebody who is languishing in jail and can't get out, can't get a bond, can't get their hearing. He's got to wait until they're done with that. And not just him, all of those folks. So a lot of time the court is saying, let's move this along so we can take care of other matters that are even more pressing for the court's decision.
Yeah, and if we cast our minds back to March, that's exactly what happened then. This case was supposed to be taken to court in March, and the judge said criminal cases take precedent, pushed it back to May, and now it is no more. Shaun, I don't think this is the last time we're ever going to talk about this. Probably in 2 years' time, when everybody's NDAs run out, there might be a tell-all interview.
It's going to come out. As hard as we try, terms come out, and you say, "Well, how is that possible?" It's just like, "Ooh, you know what I heard?" And all of a sudden, they're on TMZ, they're on TikTok, and they're saying, "This is what I've heard the terms are."
They're a source close to the story. Amen.
And they're a source close to the story.
Shaun, no one's taken the stand, no one's told their story, but there still is, in the eyes of the public, going to be a winner here. Who do you think that is?
In the eyes of the public, just from my perception, reading the filings, watching the social media pundits, I think the clear winner is the Wayfair Baldoni side. Not because of anything dealing with the logistics, but in the grand scheme of things, who actually lost more. Blake's reputation is, and this happens from the filing of lawsuits. People need to understand that. You file lawsuits, your reputation can become tarnished. And when we advise clients, Anoushka, we tell them this, that you could win the battle but lose the war. And they're like, "Oh, this is more important than money. This is more important. I need to get my message out there." And then at the end of the day, they're like, "Sheesh, I wish I would not have done that." And I think anybody paying any attention whatsoever is, and please, Justin Baldoni, people don't come for me. I had no clue who Justin Baldoni was until all of this stuff started, but I basically knew who Blake Lively was. And so her reputation from me, who is just know her from being married to Ryan Reynolds, went from here to here. And I think that's happened to a lot of people. And I think even her saying her endorsements, the way people think about her, the way people are looking at her, has been lessened just from the filing of this lawsuit. And I guarantee you, if you were a fly in the wall with her lawyer, some lawyer is sitting there right now and going, "Was it worth it? We told you might not want to do this." So I think there's a clear winner in my view.
Well, we'll see what remains. You know, the internet has a short memory, and I was seeing underneath a lot of the posts of her at the Met Gala was pretty positive. It was the most positive stuff I've seen about her in ages.
Well, America loves an underdog, and America loves a redemption story. She can make a comeback.
Yeah, there's a lot of people screaming at the TV right now, "He's Raphael! He's Raphael!" You don't know who that is, but I'm going to send you some TikToks later.
No, I'm dead. Okay. Yes, Raphael. He's Raphael. He's Raphael.
Shaun, thank you so much. You've been with us on this since the beginning. It ends with this interview. We're moving on. The other cases we have coming up that we are going to be covering is the Andrew Tate civil case in the UK, the Russell Brand criminal trial in the UK, the Kanye West, different pieces of civil litigation that are happening towards the end of the year. And we, of course, have our eyes on that Tupac case and that David case that may be making its way towards the courtroom. Shaun, thank you as always.
Thank you for having me, Anoushka. Much appreciated.
That was our resident trial attorney, Shaun Kent from South Carolina, and that's it for this episode of Fame Under Fire. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss an episode, and keep sending me those questions on social media. It's Anoushka_MD.